There we go. There's the tweet. What's happening, everybody? Live before lock, Monday, November 5th. Myself, Eddie Fear, breaking it down, taking you all the way up to 7 p.m. 9-game slate. We just got word at the end of the deeper dive that Justice Winslow will be the starting power forward for the Heat.
Well, we got likely.
Is that what the wording is? Likely?
I haven't seen from any of my three reputable Heat sources that he's definitely going to start. So just for the heads up, I haven't. Maybe it's there, but I have not yet seen that. We definitely have Winslow starting at the 4.
I think that is a good caveat.
Yep.
Does it matter to you all that much?
Yes, it matters incredibly. So I woke up this morning, as I suspect many of you did, and at a certain point started looking into my DFS research for the day, and noticed that Whiteside wasn't going to play. And like I think probably everyone else's mind in the universe, I immediately thought, Adebayo. We've also seen him have monster games, had a particularly notable one in the preseason, and a number of times when he gets the minutes and the run, there is certainly an upside to be achieved there that is massive. Obviously, was going to be popular. But the other thing that struck me was I was pretty sure I had seen this before. I'm sitting there going, I really feel like this occurred at some point recently where this exact scenario occurred, and it did. So tonight, Miami is playing in Detroit, and February 3rd of this year, 2018, Miami played in Detroit, and Hassan Whiteside was out. And Detroit played them back with pretty much their full starting lineup. Now, the following exceptions for the availability: Rodney McGruder wasn't there. The Heat started Goran Dragic at the point, Josh Richardson, Justice Winslow at the 3, Kelly Olynyk at the 4, and Bam Adebayo at the 5, with no Whiteside. With Ellington and Tyler Johnson being the key reserves in that game. James Johnson was also in. But the starting lineup, they ran those 5 guys. The Pistons ran Ish at point. Reggie was injured one of his many times of the year. Ish at point guard. But Reggie Bullock at the 2, which I don't think we know yet will be the case, but we think probably will be. Stan at the 3, Blake at the 4, and Andre Drummond at the 5. So same teams largely, very, very close to the same teams available. Again, Magruder and Reggie don't change things incredibly for me.
Sure.
So Goran Dragic played 35 minutes and ended up with 53 fantasy points. He had a big game. He took the most shots among the starters. He took 23. Kelly Olynyk started at the 4 and played 40 minutes. I rewatched about 80% of this game over the last hour, which is why I have about 50 pending chats and premium Slack. It's because I was watching this game because it seemed strangely relevant for this evening's slate. So Jay Rich played 36 minutes, had 38 fantasy points. Kelly Olynyk played 40 minutes, had 38 fantasy points. And for those who are like, oh, he must have been making all the shots, he was 1 of 8 from 3 and had 38 fantasy points and started and played 40 minutes. Justice Winslow started at the 3, was bad. Played 24 minutes, had 15 fantasy points, went 0 for 6. He did not make a basket. That's obviously, a floor occurrence there. So I'm plenty fine playing Justice Winslow tonight. Bam Adebayo had a lot of issues handling Andre Drummond. Started, only accrued 2 fouls, played 24 minutes, had 12 fantasy points. So
interesting.
This is contextualizing. This is important. By the way, looking at the other side of the ball, Ish had 43 fantasy points, shooting 11 of 14 from the field. It's a little higher than you can expect, but also playing 40 minutes. Again, Justice Winslow and Bam Adebayo played 23 and 24 minutes. All the other starters played 35, 36, 40, 39, 36, 36, 36, 34. Everyone else got plenty of starter time. Blake played 36 minutes at 39 fantasy points, didn't shoot particularly well, also 1 of 6 from 3 from him. And Andre Drummond played 35 minutes and change and put up a measly 66 and a half.
66 and a half.
Right. Not terribly surprising. I am projected for high 50s right now, but they don't have anybody who can stop him, and he should just get whatever he wants. Didn't take infinite shots. Only went to the line, took 3 free throws, made 1 of them. But 11 from 15 from the field, 4 blocks, 4 steals.
I'm glad I have Andre Drummond at 50% of my lineups right now.
That's a strong statement. You'll be massively over the field. So, all right. So, how do we contextualize this? If we find out that Justice Winslow is starting, well, then that throws everything out the window as far as a couple of these plays go. it doesn't change what we should think about Bam. Bam had, and I just watched almost every minute Bam spent on the court. He was on the court for 24 minutes. I just watched about 19 of them. Yeah, he couldn't handle Andre. Like, and the people who are like, they need Bam out there instead of Kelly O. Well, Kelly O is on Andre a little bit more than Bam, and they're basically the same weight. Bam Adebayo might outweigh Kelly Olynyk by 5 pounds, but
difference in athleticism by just like a skosh.
Yeah, well, but again, you don't need to be athletic to guard Andre Drummond. You need to be heavy.
Sure.
Like you can have plenty of big guys who aren't that athletic. I mean, Andre Drummond is obviously a professional athlete. He's very athletic, but my point being, Kelly Olynyk is about 2 inches taller than Bam Adebayo, and they're about the same weight. So yeah, Bam is a little thicker for the banging purposes, but Kelly O is legitimately 6'11 and a half or something. Bam Adebayo is like 6'10, and they both weigh 240, 245 pounds. So, I guess my point would be, if we find out, so how does this affect people? Let's assume Kelly doesn't start. Okay. Then you're off an obvious leverage play, which is play less Adebayo and more Kelly Olynyk. Your theory being, okay, I think Kelly shows out here. He makes more than 1 of 8 threes. I mean, this actually was, for him playing 40 minutes, this was sort of a floor game. So if, Justice Winslow starts, I'm still interested in some Kelly Olynyk in tournaments, but at that point, he may not get 40 minutes. He might get 21 minutes, and then I really can't do that. I think it's more than that. He'll back up the 4 and back up the 5, and it's probably still 26 minutes, and you can do it. But if he starts, again, this is basically the exact same situation. We have a different coach in Detroit, but same coach, basically the same people in Miami, playing in Detroit, making the exact same decision. So it'll be interesting if he reverses course here. It's worth pointing out, Detroit did win that game by 4 points. So I suppose some impetus to change. But Spoelstra, was from the tape room. He knows how to look back at the past and see what worked and what didn't. So Adebayo, regardless, if I have to choose to be over or under the field on one of these guys, I would be under the field on Adebayo. I can't completely get rid of him because he has all the upside in the world. He can play 30 minutes and get 50 fantasy points. But we are demonstrating here there is a real way that he does not become the beast tonight. And that is that this happens where they go small and they try to open up the field and take more threes, and he just doesn't get that much time. Because again, he played 23 minutes and change in this game. And he had 12 fantasy points. And then they played James Johnson, who isn't there, by the way. You can certainly make an argument James Johnson isn't there, so you don't have as good of a 4 to run next to Kelly O at the 5 to put Adebayo on the bench. That's a reasonable point. So James Johnson played 29 minutes off the bench there. But they ran an 8-man rotation, and that's how that game played out. So one thing to look at is, I do think Dragic in tournaments makes some sense. He took 23 shots in this game, made 13 of them, shot 4 of 6 from 3. All those are over numbers I think I would generally anticipate taking a look at here. Like I would expect less than that on all those numbers. But if I'm looking at this Detroit team from Spoelstra's standpoint, I definitely think, hey, it's going to be a little easier to go at these guys up top than try to bang down low. So, I'm going to try to score my offense by spacing the ball. I'd stay away from Blake and Andre if I couldn't deal with Ish and Reggie and the other Reggie and Stan and those guys. So, obviously, we'll come back to this in questions, and there's quite a bit to talk about. But, that seemed like a really pertinent piece of information, and I'm really looking forward to hearing exactly, who is going to be getting that start, because it's a very interesting situation for me.
Yeah, I think one important caveat is sight.
Sure.
Bam at 3,800 on FanDuel is a much different play than 4,300 on DK. I'm getting a lot of echo, by the way.
Okay, I'll lower my volume. It is, and it's interesting because it's better in some ways and worse in some ways. The price is less oppressive, and the ability to drop a score is incredibly relevant, but the opportunity cost is massive. You can play him next to another center on DraftKings. You can't do that. So it's literally Bam or no other centers tonight, and there are a number of centers in Drummond, as we just discussed a minute ago, and Towns, and I don't know, Vooch and Gobert, and there's a number of guys who can put up a big number tonight. So your opportunity cost on FanDuel punting center is massive as always. So it is site dependent, but it's roughly as palatable to me on every site because the advantages and disadvantages. I really like Miles Turner at $5,100 on DraftKings. Like that's $800 more than Bam. Like that's a really, really small number, and he's historically played really well against the Rockets. You still have that DraftKings game-dependent pricing by matchup, looking at the Rockets as this really strong defensive team, and they're not. That is not an accurate description of what they're doing at all. We can call it the Carmelo Anthony effect, but anyhow, that seemed like I wanted to start with that story there. So anyone who wants to randomly look up that box, it was I believe February 3rd of last year. And stuff's there. So, takeaways. I'm not sure Bullock is going to play. I don't think we've seen specific confirmation on that. Drummond obviously has a big ceiling. I like playing Drummond or Blake. I don't think I like playing Drummond and Blake. Ish is obviously still way the hell too cheap for the kind of things he can do. I guess good to move on, but pretty sure I should start with that. And
that would have been the first game, so it was a good starting point.
Oh, was it really? I didn't even realize that the chronology came first. For some reason, I thought there was something in the interim there.
No, Pistons and Heat would have been the first game I went to. One of 3 7:00 games.
There you go.
Shock of all shocks. I'll have a little bit of this stuff. I'm coming in way under the field on Bam. We have him projected in like half the FanDuel lineups right now. I've got him at 30. Anywhere in that area is sort of fine with me. If it works, it works.
I'm really excited about getting Boban even at $5,400 at 20% ownership. Like that's I'm a fan of that. Or Miles Turner on FanDuel, where he's 5.
Yeah, I assume he will be barely owned with this Heat news now and price points being around him. I liked him this morning. I see no reason.
I mean, I still really, really like Bam. I am pointing out there's a chance it doesn't work out, and we've seen it not work out again all 8 months ago, and is going to be massively owned. So, and you only get one center, and there are others who look like they're in a really good spot. So there's all kinds of reasons to look elsewhere.
Breaking news. We'll get to it in like 2 more games. Kevin Knox available to play.
It screws that game up even more.
Yeah.
I don't think we have definite Hardaway news, but if Knox and Hardaway are, and then you can just kind of ignore the Knicks. Oh, Hardaway looks like he's going to play. Okay, so yay. So just forget that team, kind of. I guess the matchup's really superlative. You'd like to think, Hardaway in tournaments is someone we've been looking at just about every day for, the reasons of his ability to destroy there. But he's up to 7,600 on DK. Like, I don't know. At that point, I'll play Jimmy Butler or Oladipo, or like, I don't put Holiday in that class where he's, I'll play Josh Richardson first. I'll play Zach LaVine first at 8K. I mean, so it's tough. He is pricing himself into a difficult spot there. Yeah. But if he's in, he kind of durfs everyone else on the team. So
this Pistons Heat game is going to make or break me. Lots of Drummond, lots of Blake, lots of Ish.
Bam, I like Drummond, Blake, Ish. I don't mind some Kelly O, although it sounds like he's not going to start, but I'd really like confirmation on that. So it's odd that the coach would make a different decision in an identical spot. And while last game wasn't great for Kelly O, he has like a 25 and a 35 in the last 4 games and has been starting. So you would think they'd go back for the size here. So I'm a little surprised at that decision. I think you want Justice out there as well, but that would have been an interesting spot. But I thought you might see some really weird Dragic, like Richardson, Winslow lineup. But it's not that important, because even if you get Dragic, Magruder, etc., the standard starters, Richardson, Winslow, Bam, you're going to get some Kelly O off the bench, and if for some reason Winslow doesn't start, you're going to get 29 minutes of him off the bench. So not the most critical thing in the world.
Yeah, they're going to have to spread 96 minutes across power forward and center in some sort of way, and no James Johnson doesn't make that any easier. Barring 2 of these guys playing 40 plus, and you should be in decent shape to not see anybody just totally crater from a time perspective.
Kelly O is a CA then, and Bam Adebayo is an AA. I think is where we're going to end up there.
Speaking of the Pacers and Miles Turner from earlier, this is a game that exists, I guess. I have very little interest in it. Chris Paul is the only real guy that I am focused on in this game. I would be on Victor Oladipo more on DraftKings if I were playing on DraftKings. at FanDuel at 9,100. I have a little bit less of an interest. But outside of Miles Turner, talk to me about anything else you see in this game. It's a weird one for me.
Yeah, I like both the centers. I mean, both the centers at their prices are really, really good. And they both cracked these prices both games last year. These teams, obviously different conferences, only got together 2 times last year. But, you had lots of Miles Turner, which isn't something we can count on, which is going to limit him exclusively to tournaments there. And but you had lots of both Miles Turner and Clint Capella were very good against each other. And in fantasy points, you got, I want to say, like 35 and 40 out of Miles Turner, and you got like 45 and 45 out of Clint Capella. And it's a perfectly good spot. I would expect them both to have lots of trouble guarding each other, and that has been the case in the 2 most recent times. And I expect the ownership to be low because, Bam and Boban and like all these other guys. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about getting, if they get 35 and 45, on DraftKings, they're 5-1 and 7-7. Those numbers both have plenty of usage for me. So, I agree. Like, Harden is always in playing tournaments. He's James Harden. He can do James Harden things, lobster. Like, that's just simply the situation with him. It's not a spot I like, particularly for him. Again, not the greatest pace. Lots of decent guys to defend him, including Oladipo on the Pacers. But that still, James Harden, I would probably overweight the field because I think he ends up being really low owned. So I think he ends up being, 13% owned. I'd probably shoot for 20 or something because I think that spot is being undersold a little bit, and obviously there's plenty of excellent value out there. So, but beyond that, Ennis's minutes are all jacked up. Melo has been shooting much better than Melo is going to shoot in general, and still really hasn't been that tremendous in fantasy, so I don't really want to Melo and not the best matchup. I agree with Paul. He's especially a little underpriced on FanDuel, where he's basically the same price as DK.
Yeah.
I think we don't know, Harden, a little gimpy, so I can sort of see that play, but I think you're appropriately disincentivized towards this game. Some Oladipo. I like the centers, but there's certainly no must to have any of these guys in here.
Okay, I'm going to move on to Orlando and Cleveland, which should not take very long, particularly on the Cleveland side. I like Orlando. I like Aaron Gordon. I think I'm going to regret not having any Vooch, but there's just too many options at center for me today. I think that he's in a really nice spot, but I can't justify it. I just have little bits of Orlando. And then Sam Decker, which for some reason I can't quit him.
You should.
I know I should.
You should. He's not. You got your Sam Decker game already. Yeah. Like, I guess they can keep throwing that many minutes at him, and maybe it turns out. But is he still priced high 4s?
He is 4,200 on FanDuel, 47 on DK.
Okay, well, all right, then 42 I will take. He's then possibly your punt guy or whatever, FanDuel, and you play mostly FanDuel, so I remove my previous, statement on that. That's just fine for me.
Winslow official.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So nice. I like much less confidence, but still lots of Olynyk, upside in tournaments.
Sure.
So I can see doing that. I'd definitely be a fan of it. Like, it doesn't take that much also for 2 fouls on Bam Adebayo. Well, that was quick, and you still get 36 minutes. So, but it makes me like Bam more. Makes me like Richardson and Dragic a little bit more. So they're going to be a little more involved in the shooting there. So I think it is worth pointing out that I think the other members of the Heat will be undersold. You're going to everyone just like us talking about, Winslow and Adebayo and Olynyk. Well, again, Dragic just did 53 in the spot 10 months ago and is coming in questionable. So 1% Dragic sounds pretty good for me, especially as like a Rubio pivot, for example, who's priced almost identically. But Richardson would be my next guy. McGruer's sort of priced himself out of hitting an upside at his price. But J. Rich and Dragic will go under for what they should with that news there.
Anybody else you want to touch on from Orlando or Cleveland? It's not exactly the most appealing game.
Yeah, Cleveland, I just don't see the reason. That looks like, yes, one guy will have a good game. We haven't even had a guy getting like a great game. We're not even getting a game where it's like someone on Cleveland gets to 40. It's literally like some guy at $4,700 will get 31. And yeah, that's exciting if you can get it. In a tournament, I'd play Lance. I had to play someone in a tournament, just because one of these days he will get the minutes and destroy. I don't know if it's today. You need Tristan Thompson foul trouble or Drew to pull his head out of his ass, but we know exactly what Tristan Thompson is. Let him play 20 minutes. Let Lance play 28. That's what I would do. Or God, let them play next to each other. It's not like other power forward options are setting the world on fire. Sorry, Sam Decker. But nothing on Cleveland that makes my socks roll up and down. They're all just still not priced well enough. Like George Hill's down to 4,200. Okay, like there's a number at which there's a guy who's got quite an NBA history. He can't be that bad. I don't think DJ Augustine shuts him down. So sure, Fournier is still a little cheap. Having a really good year, so I can see doing Fournier, Simmons in tournaments. Aaron Gordon, I think we saw a very nice bounce back game out of him. Fine in tournaments, Vooch in tournaments, but yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to move on. No strong takes on any of these guys.
Cool. Knicks and Bulls, as we mentioned before, probably not a lot to talk about here on the Knicks side. Kevin Knox active. Your guess is as good as mine as to how much he plays. I'm guessing 20 minutes for right now, making my changes to my minutes as we speak. So when I'm done making these changes, new projections will be uploaded. I'm going to have and Tim Hardaway in as well. I'm going to have a really difficult time justifying anybody on the Knicks.
Yeah, I at this point, too many dudes. Like, you have Hardaway back in and everything, so you were hoping for a bench upside for Trier and Zonia, and you were hoping those guys to randomly hit it. For me, it's probably Tim Hardaway against the Bulls, if I'm picking a guy. Just like, I'm always a huge fan of questionable, might not play, is playing. I really like playing that guy. It's historically, I'm very confident, a strong play. Like, if you had to choose at the beginning of time to never play that guy or always play that guy, you would be well advantaged, and even more advantaged than doing it half the time to have always played that guy. The ownership just comes down so precipitously relative to the number of times his performance is actually affected by that designation. So I don't want to spend $7,600 or whatever on Tim Hardaway Jr., but it will be at 1.5% against the Bulls. And again, you can ask Klay Thompson about shooting guard versus the Bulls. So. Yeah. Like I hear that is a thing, but yeah, it makes me much like I'm actually changing my next rankings, and then I'm going to post these in a second. Yeah, it makes you less excited about everyone, even the offensive role for the other guys. I still think Noah Vonleh is cute in tournaments because what really pisses me off is, like, obviously NBA coaches are shit dumb when it comes to dealing with foul trouble. And just in general, like, a guy's up on fouls, I'm going to take him out of the game, is wrong about 90% of the time anyway, because it's like, oh no, this guy's in foul trouble. I'm worried he's going to lose minutes, so I'm going to make sure he loses minutes. Never makes a fuck ton of sense. But a lot of coaches do what they did to Vonleh last night, which was he got his 2 fouls, immediately yanked. Played about 3 more minutes, got his 3rd foul in the 2nd quarter, immediately yanked. 4th quarter, plays okay for like 5-6 minutes, gets his 4th foul, immediately yanked. Which is, again, asinine for reasons already discussed. But then they never put him back. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they're just like, and it wasn't a blowout or anything. They're just like, well, we pulled him and we just ran with the other guys the rest of the game. Then why did you pull him? Like, assuming he was in because you wanted him in. Is it like fumbling? Right. Is that what you're trying to tell me? It's like, oh, we're punishing him for getting those fouls. If that's not it, it's fucking asinine. If you want to play 8 minutes in the 3rd quarter and he gets his 4th foul after 6 minutes, leave him the fuck in there for 2 more minutes if you're going to pull him and never put him back in when he gets to the 4th foul. It just doesn't. They're doing something wrong. No matter what their theory is, they're not obeying it in some way, shape, or form. So, bleh, lobster.
Yeah, look, someone's going to do well in the Knicks, I would imagine, tonight. I just have a hard time locking it down. If you are playing the Knicks, I would focus on them on DraftKings. They have significantly better pricing there than they do on FanDuel, save for Mitchell Robinson.
Yep.
Bulls side, Wendell Carter obviously still incredibly underpriced on DraftKings. Jabari Parker underpriced on DraftKings.
Yes. The only thing wrong with those guys is they're centers. But other than that, they're not all centers, but Bud's a center.
I have a little bit of Jabari on FanDuel, and then just like table scraps of Levine and Chandler Hutchinson and Justin Holiday. Nobody with any sort of volume. Any Bulls?
I'm with you. I'm probably a little higher than that just because this is the Knicks and the Bulls. There's certainly some advantage for people to really step out and have a monster game here. So I can certainly see I can certainly see it. It's going to work out for a few guys. These teams are both pretty anemic defensively. But again, most of the Bulls have been priced up. Parker hasn't come down low enough and has looked so bad. It's hard to gauge him as much other than a tournament play. Obviously, Carter is tremendous at that price. Very highly priced on FanDuel. But power forward's a bit of a shitbox there. So he's going to be like 25% owned on FanDuel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think with all the shit going on, yeah, it seems like I should want more of this game, but I think you're making a strong play here. So.
I just feel like we'll look back at it and be like, oh, Antonio Blakeney got 34 minutes and went off. It's just one of those games where it's going to be the guys that you couldn't be on.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable that it's Blakeney. I think is a reasonable tournament play, but yeah, it's hard to have any confidence at this point.
Thunder and the Pels, the big one of the day, biggest implied total on the slate.
What is it, like 238 now? Is that about the number?
I have 235 in here right now. If it has moved in the last hour, it could be up a little bit higher than that. Both teams just expected to put up a ton of points, which is kind of crazy. Thunder's defense has been pretty solid, at least from a fantasy perspective, but still. This one's going to be moving. Yeah,
they're just running.
Yep. I've got I've got as much Russ as I can personally fit in and as much AD as I can personally fit in. Any qualms?
No, I like Russ a good bit more. And I really like AD, but I would probably be near 100% Russ for myself tonight. He's just smashed this again and again and again and again and again. I believe he has triple doubles his last 5 games against the Pelicans.
Safe bet.
And 6 of the last 7, and the one he didn't, he had like, I think I'm going to just pull up the query real quick, because if I'm going to do the whole statty thing, I'll take a minute and talk about this. I'm going to limit it to games Anthony Davis played in case there's some differential in there. Let's see. Yep. Okay, yeah. 6 out of his last 7 games, he has a triple-double. The game he didn't have a triple-double, he had 42 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists.
Yeah, I love that I'm mashing him tonight.
Yeah, 26. I'll do points, rebounds, assists real quick. 26, 15, 13, 16, 11, 14, 1. That game was legit bad. He had a 50, this is like a 52-point game where he had 16, 11, 14, and 9 turnovers. That was a legit bad game. He would have been in the high 40s on FanDuel. I should point that out. That's 2 games ago. 22, 16, 12, and 3 steals. 41, 11, 11, and a steal. 9 turnovers again. 27, 12, 10, a steal and a block. 8 turnovers, 42, 10, and 7, 4 turnovers, 28, 17, 12, and the rare quadruple double, 10 turnovers. So just for record, his turnovers in these games are 7, 9, 3, 9, 8, 4, 10.
I love the triple doubles or quad doubles.
So maybe he only got 1 quad double with the 10 there. So yeah, especially DraftKings, I don't give a shit about these turnovers. If I am eyeballing these scores correctly, I have 1 at about 53, 1 in the high 50s, 3 in the 60s, a 73 and a 76, give or take. Like he's got out of these 7 games, he's got 1 under 58, I think, which is about 53 on DraftKings, and then 2 over 70. So, yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of all that I really care about in this game. Like, I have shares of Jeremy Grant. Schroeder is oddly huge chalk on FanDuel per our ownership today.
Like 20%?
I hope that happens. I don't have that. I'm going to take my chances against it. I mean, I get why the pieces would be there. I don't really feel comfortable having 20-something% of Dennis Schroeder to match the field, though.
Yeah, I can definitely I can take a look at some other things, but I expect it seems I don't know. I'm a fan of the. You have to think some of the complementary pieces are going to be fairly decent here. Like if you're running all this Westbrook, I think you have to run it back alternatingly with somebody on the Pels, either Drew or Mirotic or Brow. So I having none of those guys feels, kind of dirty, because you want this game to go for 4 quarters. And you're making a huge investment in Westbrook, and it just makes your investment in players on the Thunder better. So it seems to me like I would really want to, I would really want to push that back. So, sure. But if you don't have Westbrook, I really want to have Schroeder or George. I don't really want to play Steven Adams. I love center, obviously other places, and more often than not, Anthony Davis, not a good thing for him. He's had a couple decent games there, but really don't want to play Steven Adams. Feel free. The game has an over-under 268. Knock yourself out. But generally don't want to do that. But generally going to have, if I built 150 lineups, I'd have 120 Westbrook. The other 30 would have at least Schroeder or George in them, probably mostly George. And then just be running it back constantly with significant amounts of Drew, probably the safest, but basically going to run point guard here with no Elf again. Miro's just been shockingly consistent. You know, like paying 8 and change for him, but he's earned it. And, Anthony Davis, there's enough value to support it, you punt center, Anthony Davis at forward, Russell Westbrook at, point guard and fill it out. There's enough value to support that plan. So
there definitely is. Yeah, I have 65% of Russ and AD. That is my ownership cap for today. And I would guess that I have
an
75% of overlap.
A lot of people say stuff like that recently where they're like, I have 50% of this guy. I think the field has like 20%. If it turns out the field drops down to 10%, I'm going to reduce my exposure to 30. And I've heard a number of people, ranking still not showing. All right, I'm going to try and upload them again. I've heard a number of people say things like that to me. Where like, I think the field has, we'll say 20%. I'm going to have like 50. If the field, I think, goes down to 10, I'm going to have like 30. And that seems wrong to me. That seems the opposite. Like, if the field has less, every bit I have is more valuable. I'm getting more separation. If I believe in the play, it's been very strange to me. I don't know if it's been you, but I've heard people make claims like that recently, and I don't quite understand the thought process. If I wanted to have 50% of a guy and I found out the field was going to have 10 instead of 20, I'd be like, great. I wouldn't be like, oh, I better have less, other than being risk averse, but that's fine. I get being, risk averse. But other than that, I don't understand. Sorry, you got a hot take for me as to why that makes sense?
Yeah, that's almost exactly what I would do in that case. And it's mostly to redistribute more of my ownership. I don't need to have that much leverage over the field. It's not going to affect me as much to go from like 50 to 40 if that drops like that. I'd be happier getting an additional 10%. Like today would be, let's just use this as an example.
Okay.
Let's use all the numbers you used, and let's say that I was going to drop Russell Westbrook's ownership down by 10%. I would just be happy that I was picking up a couple extra shares of Steph Curry that I don't have, or Kyle Lowry. Extra bullets in the gun of things that could be right if I'm wrong.
All right, swear to God, I'm not being purposely contentious.
Yeah, sure.
I don't understand, so you have to tell me why. I understand you're saying this is what I would do. I'm clear on the example you're giving.
Sure.
If I want to have 50% Russell Westbrook and I think the field is 20%, and then I find out the field is going down to 10%, I'm like, zang, super excited about my 50% Russell Westbrook. I'm in no way inclined to be like, oh, I better have less. I'm be like, oh, sweet, what I have is now more valuable because when he crushes, instead of gaining on 80% of the field, I'm gaining on 90% of the field. So I get what you're saying. I still don't get the why. The why is eluding me.
So I think it's probably in the first sentence that you said there. And this is going to end up being different for, I would guess, 99% of the people, but not for me. I would never think to myself, I want to have Russell Westbrook at 50%. I'm simply just getting Russell Westbrook at this number and then readjusting down. I would never make that change if I wanted to have if I wanted 50% Russell Westbrook and that ownership did change, then I would just keep it. But for me, it's all just trying to redistribute little bits of ownership. I don't need to be that far above if it's dropping the way that I play and the way that I structure my lineups. But if someone is just looking at it like, I'm going to try to have Russell Westbrook in half of my lineups today, then I get why that person isn't trying to change that number. But I'm just letting this go just so that I'm not dead in the water if I'm wrong. Yeah, I can give myself more viable lineups if I'm wrong by limiting that without removing any of my upside.
Interesting. I take your point, and it has merit, and a lot of people are backing you up. I'm actually receiving messages, both private and public, from like 6 people saying, this is why. So clearly I have a different way of thinking about that than you do. And you're certainly much more practiced in MME than I am, so I would default towards you being correct and me being incorrect. So that's very interesting. I'm more inclined towards Westbrook, but I understand that it's always relative to the field how you're scoring as opposed to so
yeah, like none of that would ever have anything to do with Russ himself. It's just sort of getting that alternate universe where, let's say Russ busts and I don't have any Curry. If I drop him by 5 because ownership went down, maybe I pick up 2 shares of Curry, and that's the one that pops the top of the tournament. Like I'm trying to play enough combinations that one of them gets loose, so to speak.
I've attempted to upload the rankings 3 times now. Every time I go there, I'm disconnected from the remote computer. So someone else is connected and you've been kicked off. So on the off chance that someone else is trying to upload football or golf or darts or some shit, I'd really like to put in the NBA rankings, and I keep getting kicked. So I'm going to try this one more time, but if Eddie Lai is listening or whomever would have the ability to assist me with this, it's pretty frustrating. Let's talk about some other games, because obviously we're burning a lot of time. I appreciate you edifying me on that subject.
Oh, of course. Nuggets and Celtics, I don't think we're going to have a ton to talk about here, other than the fact that it's a fantastic basketball game that should not have a ton of DFS relevant information that you can confidently go to, just because it should be a defensive battle.
Yeah, I think that's a correct observation. Again, obviously, okay, let's try that. Okay, I believe the rankings are now up. Someone let me know if they are not in the next 10 seconds. Yeah, so DraftKings has done a decent job of pricing down the guys in this game to make them playable, I think is the best adjective I would use to describe the situation. So I don't mind having some shares on a couple guys. Kyrie on FanDuel is still 7,700, has had multiple 40-50 type fantasy point games against the Nuggets, against Jamal Murray. Obviously was a letdown last time after a couple strong games. I don't mind Kyrie in tournaments, especially on FanDuel, where that makes some sense.
Yeah.
Next guy would probably be Tatum for me. Not a particularly great matchup for either Horford or Jokic. And again, center pretty gas, so I don't think I want to do that. So yeah, Irving, Tatum. I don't hate Gordon Hayward if he manages to price into your lineup in a tournament. He's going to have the most advantageous matchup of the starters. It would be really just like a 5K cash play for me if I needed it, where, yeah, he's probably going to give me 25, and I'd roll in there at a pretty weak position, but not super excited about that. And then, at least whereas it's still pretty expensive to get a hold of most of the Celtics on DraftKings, they lowered the prices on the Nuggets. So Jamal Murray, 6,900. Nice. Gary Harris, 61. Millsap. Now, Millsap, I think, is still questionable. I haven't seen an update on that. If he's out, people are sending me messages like, if you're that overweight and he does badly, you're dead. It's like, well, yeah, I can't. Yeah. Like, my goal can't be to not die. You have to play to win. But Trey Lyles, especially obviously if Millsap is out, is like 42 on DK. There's a big upside that comes with that. You'd have to like the potential minutes there. But yeah, that's about it here.
I'm going to give one take here. We don't have to go any further. But after making all of my adjustments today, making sure I like everybody's projections, I'm getting some Jaylen Brown at 4,900 on FanDuel, and I'm going to go for that. He's been better in these last couple of games. He's been taking a lot more shots in his last 3. So I'm hoping I can get him at a depressed ownership and a price tag under 5K, which I think is worth a shot at that particular position today.
Sure.
Only a flyer, nothing more, nothing less. Jazz and Raptors. I think we need to assume that Kawhi is in. The Jazz look like the team for punts today, at least on FanDuel, where you're going to be, dropping $3,500 guys anyway if you can. So Alec Burks, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, come on down. If you play well, great. If you don't, okay.
Yeah, those wing positions are kind of weak on FanDuel today. Like, you got to pay up for guys like Mirotic, or you got to spend, 6.5 on Clay or 6 on Fournier. So there's certainly a lot of merit to playing some of these poopier guys, if you will.
Yes.
Over there on FanDuel. So yeah, I think that is about the right take to make on this game. Again, another game between Celtics, Nuggets, Jazz, Raptors. That's some very good defensive teams.
Very.
So these have only over-unders of like 215, which is hilarious that that's the state of the modern NBA. But yeah, I think Kawhi plays. And again, yes, sometimes it's funny how easy it is to make money. Like yesterday, everyone's like, I don't know if Kawhi is going to play, so I'm just staying away from that game. And I'm like, makes sense. Kawhi is not going to play. He's going to sit one of these 2 games. His ankle's jacked up. Why would they have him play the first one? That doesn't make any sense. So let's assume he isn't playing. Let's go over the field on Kyle Lowry and Pascal. And ta-da, lobster. Like, I was, half of winning yesterday, as those guys were both pretty essential there. Obviously, Serge, if you went there. certainly worked as well. Yeah, there's I don't hate either center here, especially at the DK price where they've kept him cheap. Pascal, I'm sorry, Jonas and Serge. Jonas had I want to say 65 fantasy point game against Rudy Gobert last year. It was quite a thing to see last spring. I remember watching that game and him being 0.6% on because Gobert, why would you want that guy? And then he went off for 60 some odd. Doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot, but I can still see having him in tournaments is sort of the moral of that story.
Yeah, I worry about Gobert's effect on the team defense, never the center matchup itself.
Yeah, that's I believe borne out by data, so that does make sense there. Danny Green is still $4,300, and again, we expect Kawhi back, which is a plus correlation that makes some sense. Kyle Lowry is only 83 on FanDuel, so that's cheaper. Across the ball, Ricky Rubio, Sans Donovan Mitchell is going to be popular. And was extremely, extremely good last time. Again, I thought a fade was interesting in a similar situation where you had a bad matchup and someone who had a lot of success defensively against him, which Lowry has as well. They started Allen instead of Exum, so that I figured they were going to start Exum, which would have made Exum really good and Rubio worse. And instead they started Allen, who, until they start giving fantasy points for tripping, doesn't do anything really that helps you that much. They're going to do that again. So Rubio's still perfectly fine. Bit chalky. Still, I think last game was sort of a ceiling. I don't think you get 45 out of him again, but I'd probably project him for the mid-30s, and the guy cost $6K. So hard to argue too much with Rubio. Not going to play Grayson Allen. Ingles is way too cheap on FanDuel. Has been all year. He's like $600 cheaper than DK, which is pretty rare.
Yeah, he's got one of the higher price gaps for me right now.
Yeah. You can play...
Not for me, but for everyone.
Yeah, you can play Derek Favors on DK at 4,400. You don't really want to, but he's 4,400 and he gets you in the low 20s basically every time. And you'll get him at 1% owned, and certainly could randomly bang out 35 for you. It happens.
I have a little bit of him on FanDuel as well. I don't mind that price there either.
Yeah, power forward's again pretty shitty there, so that makes some sense. And Jay Crowder, fine returns. But yeah, again, nothing making your socks roll up and down in this game. So I think not much ad analysis there.
Agreed. Warriors. Ooh, that didn't come up the way that I wanted it to. Warriors and Grizzlies.
Trier starting. I just got. Hold on. I need to.
THJ out.
I don't have THJ out, but I have Trier starting. But
I see Trier starting. I don't see Tim Hardaway Jr. not playing though.
I don't know, but feel free to get yourself some Trier.
Yeah,
it'll start Ntilikina, Trier, Dotson, Vonleh, Robinson. So, yeah, circling back to that team, I like kind of all those guys now. Trier is a super efficient punt on FanDuel. He wicked cheap. He's 39, I want to say. Let me take a look at that. Yeah, Alonzo Trier's 3,900 on FanDuel. That makes some sense. So probably my favorite among those guys, but Dotson, especially DK price, I like in tournaments. And Vonleh, obviously just tournaments because the coach is a dipshit when it comes to the fouls and they keep pulling him out. Robinson, great matchup at like 4,100 or something, and you're going to get very low ownership for what he should be at that price because, again, Boban and Bam. So, yeah.
Projections are updated.
Lots of usage to go around. I mean, again, Hardaway was taking 20 shots. Other people will now take those 20 shots. Hashtag analysis, and the Bulls won't defend them all that well. So, yeah, I like having some exposure here now.
Warriors and Grizzlies. This is a really tough one for me. I probably should have some exposure to Curry, Durant, Draymond, Clay. I don't. And I'm super, super nervous about it. Because clearly, any one of those guys can go bonkers. What do you like from the Warriors side of this game? I assume there's not a ton to like on the Grizzlies side, so that's why I'm leading with the Warriors.
Yeah, that's fine. It's pretty standard as far as in tournaments. I'm generally a fan outside of specific matchups of Draymond, then Clay, then Durant, then Steph right now, and I have no reason to change that particularly at the moment. So I like Draymond legitimately in tournaments. He always carries a pretty massive upside. The price is more tolerable. Clay is just real cheap, and as we've seen, I was saying this before he did it, and after he did it, he can just randomly throw up 60 odd points, and that happened. And then Curry and Durant, it's weird for them to have a monster crushery game and not blow out the other team when the other team isn't that good. Like, I almost like them more when they're playing better teams because there's a chance it stays even They're favored by like 15, I think, at home against the Jazz. My favorite Warrior tonight is probably Alfonso McKinney.
I get where you're going with that.
He's 3,300 on DK. He's been playing reasonable minutes. You have to assume they're going to blow them out. The matchup is fine, but I'm fine if you're not playing any Warriors tonight. You can certainly Damian Jones. He has the possibility to do stuff, but Gasol isn't the matchup I'm trying to do that in, really. So, yeah, generally fairly understandably, I think, tepid on them as a team.
Okay. Grizzlies side, I'm going to die on the Kyle Anderson hill today.
Yeah, it's certainly a day to do it on, my friend. Go with God. I have no confidence.
I rarely do.
His play has been so inconsistent and so generally untrackable and not based on matchup. And I don't hate it in tournaments at all, just because there obviously is a real upside, and the ownership will be low because, again, he's been poor. But yeah, okay, like it's fine. It's a fine place to take a stand.
Scary place to take a stand.
Well, the thing is, you need the game to stay close, right? So you're like, I'm playing no one on Golden State, but I'm all over Kyle Anderson. That doesn't work for me. Like that's where I'm a little specious on it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're heavily invested in Kyle Anderson, you want this game to stay close, right? So then don't you need some Kevin Durant in your life or Steph?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, just a little. I mean, it's not like when I was talking before, you're trying to justify your investment in Andre Drummond by playing Goran Dragic. Trying to justify your huge investment in Kyle Anderson is obviously less of an imperative, but it's there's some negative correlation in the lots of Kyle Anderson, no Golden State studs theory there.
Yeah, I think that Curry is the guy that I'm going to try to make the move to, and just give him the littlest of bumps here and see what happens.
Yeah, just a pick. Just trying to help you. Help me, I help you.
Just a little bit. That's a great point. For Kyle Anderson to pay off, this game needs to be close.
Right. Well, not necessarily. I mean, that's not even true. Like Kyle Anderson can score 25 fantasy points and a half.
Sure.
Not likely, but in a fast game, like he certainly could get there, and certainly in 3 quarters, I'm not shocked if they get blown out and he gets 26 fantasy points. I'm not, I don't consider that a horrifically impossible thing to occur.
Anything else on the Grizzlies side that you would be interested in?
You can mark Gasol in tournaments. If the game stays close, he can get 55 even in a tough matchup. You can Garrett Temple in tournaments. But let me tell you, if you're Jaren Jackson and you can't stop from getting a foul every 2 minutes against the Suns and shit, I have a feeling these guys might be a problem. So if Jaren Jackson plays 35 minutes tonight and gets like one personal foul, I'm gonna shit a subcompact. Like I have. Yeah,
it's not possible, right? Like he's gonna pick up 5 fouls and
I know it's going to happen now, and I'm gonna lose my mind if he plays like 30 minutes and doesn't get in foul trouble tonight. But it should not be possible. He apparently can guard no one without fouling them. I don't know how you handle getting switched on to Clay and Steph and Durant and manage to do that. THJ is available off the bench.
Yeah, I've nerfed his minutes down to like 28. He's not in any real position to be played now.
Well, no, you can't play him, but it just sort of durfs the other plays a little bit. Well, I don't understand. Why would he be? Either start him and play him or give him a day of rest. The fuck are you doing? Like, if they bring him in like 8 minutes into the game and he plays 17 minutes, that just seems wrong. Like, if he is busted up enough and you're paying him $17 million a year that he can't play 30 minutes, I wouldn't be like, let's try and give him 18, see what happens.
Reggie Bullock out.
Okay. Bruce Brown will get the start, I presume. Junior?
Yeah.
I'm not super excited about that. Last time he got a start, I think he played 20 some odd minutes and had like 4 fantasy points. Like, I'm not even kidding. He had a game where, he played 29 minutes and had 10 fantasy points. I apologize. But, I guess in play at $3,100 on DK, but doesn't change a hell of a lot. It makes me like Ish more. Should be more confident in your Ish shares now, because now they really get to run him out there next to Reggie all day. So I think you said you had a lot of Ish. You should feel good about your Ish. You should have fewer issues with your Ish.
I get it.
No, it's clever. I made a pun.
Let's hit Clippers. Clippers and Wolves as quick as we can. Go.
Boban. Roar. No.
Boban
so,
DK.
Oh, what is he on DK? 46?
45, I think.
45, whatever. Yeah, he's fine there. He's fine on FanDuel too.
Sure. I'm less interested on FanDuel.
That's fine. That's exactly why I like him on FanDuel. So I think you get him at 18%, and there's a real chance he plays 24 minutes and gets 46 fantasy points.
I'm nervous he stays on the floor.
Sure. And again, the smart play today isn't Boban, it's Montrezl Harrell. We'll get red tips out there. If Boban isn't playing, I don't think Gortat's going to randomly jump back in the rotation after a game on the side.
No.
Montrezl's playing 31 minutes. I'll take 31 minutes of Montrezl in this matchup.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's the smart pivot there. So I like some Montrezl certainly. What's he? 5,500. And cheap. So yeah, playing them both worked last time. Playing them both could work again here. You like the matchup with Minnesota. Anyway, Tobias and Gallinari are in perfectly fine spots and will be under-owned as always. Pat Beverly, I actually really like on DK at $3,800. I think his minutes continue to trend up. I like the specific matchup for him. It's actually one of my favorite value plays on DK.
I like it.
Plus, you can play him at the 2, which seems key. So you get him and Ish out there for point guards now. It's 8,100. I like playing both those guys now.
I like it a
lot. Butler is going to be under-owned. If you're not playing Towns, play Butler. If you're not playing Butler, maybe play Towns. But this should be a game where those guys are going to do a lot of the offensive heavy lifting there. And 8,200 on DK is just too cheap for Jimmy Butler if you think this stays remotely close and he plays his full minutes. Obviously some risk there, but super GPP upside for me.
I have a decent amount of Towns, as per usual.
Yes, I know you like him, and that was terrible for the first week or so, and very good for the last one. So probably.
Yeah, it's been up and down. What do you think of Tyus Jones? And then we can get into some questions.
I think he's fine to play in tournaments. I do think the ownership obviously will have fallen off to a point at which it's now starting to obviously make some sense. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that could really turn out. So, yeah, I think I would go as far as to say I like him in tournaments. I'm not going there in cash. I'll play Ish. I'll play Pat Bev. I'll play other guys before I run Tyus out there, who also again is not 100% healthy. But funny, this thing last show, guys were like, "Why are you worried about Rose? Is this?" I'm like, I just don't think he's 100% healthy. And then like the game starting got scratched, and I'm like, "Ooh, that sucks. I hate being right." But yeah, that was like, well, there it is. Sorry about that.
Any clear questions you have in Slack right now while I update or upload my lineups?
Sure. I will head over to the Slack and get some. Here they come. Beep, 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 beep. Okay. Let me look at some of the like 38 pages. Okay.
Oh,
yes.
Boy.
Yes. Many messages. Trier about to put up 20 shots. Yeah.
I hope.
Like Trier to do some things. Even cheaper on FanDuel, by the way. Nice whenever you get the FD discount.
I've quite a bit.
For questions there, Ish, Brow, Lyles, or Rubio, Jimmy, Serge.
Change out the Lyles piece.
Yeah, Ish I like. Brow I like. Lyles, I don't hate. He's cheap. And I'll go Ish, Brow, Lyles. I'll be firmly on that side. Rubio's, not thrilled with. Jimmy I like in tournaments. Serge, there's a lot of tough matchups on the right side of that. So I'll go Ish, Brow, Lyles.
There you go.
News on Kawhi, I don't have any, but I expect him to play.
I expected him to play yesterday, and that kind of boned me.
Did you?
I did.
Why?
I figured he'd play in LA.
I did say that. I did say, look, I don't think he plays. It doesn't make any sense for these reasons.
And then to go play in Utah, like it's a tough place to just physically play.
Yeah, I was like, that said, I'm like, if he makes the decision, maybe he plays tonight, is what I said. I was like, I think he wants to play against LeBron. I think he wants to play in LA. I think so. That's the only way that he should play would be if he goes, I want to play in the Laker game, and they let him make the call.
Right.
Then, okay, I kind of get it. But, yeah, it just didn't make any sense if his ankle was anything but 100% to run him out there yesterday. So
didn't go well.
Did not appear to work out.
Lots of Trey Lyles questions.
It's fine. It's like I like Trey Lyles. He was one of the most oversold guys this year.
Like you have to know that Millsap's out, otherwise it's not really worth anything.
Yeah, it's still okay even if Millsap is out. So I think even if Millsap is in, like it can happen. But their bench, figuring out who's going to be their bench guy in any given game is good luck. Oh, it was. It's really pretty random on any given game, whether or not it's Wancho or Malik Beasley or Monty Morris, or I mean, they really rotate through. It's my turn to go off. Oh, okay, go ahead. Like it's really very random there. So thoughts on Sweet Lou? I'll leave that to you. Talk about Sweet Lou. He's your guy. He's your boy.
I have some. His price is going up. It's less appealing. It was always a price play for me, as just about every play that I make is. And now it's not as advantageous as it was, 3 days ago. Really that easy for me.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward, I guess.
Yeah. That's how it works,
That's how it go.
Play better, price goes up, generally speaking.
I've heard that.
I believe that's how they do it.
Okay.
I've been wrong before.
Any questions? Either channel? I'm available to...
Not a lot in Slack. Glenn Robinson starting for Stanley Johnson today per our Slack chat, which is fascinatingly irrelevant, probably.
Yeah, also. So they're also starting Brown for what it's worth.
Augustine or Beverly? There's a question. First question I saw.
Beverly and cash short tournaments for me.
Yeah. Beverly on DK in particular, that Beverly price is pretty nice.
Yeah,
as nice as Beverly can get.
Yeah.
All right, regular. Small forward at 4,800 or less on FanDuel. McKinney, Eton Moore, Boyan.
Ew. God, those are all not good. It probably ends up being Eton Moore. Just, pace and good luck. Yeah. Someone had Stan Johnson, I think is what happened there, by the way, in a related story.
Oh, right.
Kyle Anderson, I think is your answer. Is it not, my friend?
Yeah, probably. Kind of has to be for me.
Just saying.
Kind of has to be. What else do we got? Ish or Trier?
I'll play Ish. Straight up, no changes. I'd play Ish. Certainly in cash.
Rubio or Fournier? Cash.
I'll take Rubio. Without Mitchell there.
Yeah, I would certainly take Rubio.
Fournier. Too. I mean, Fournier's pretty consistent this year for him, but he still has 3 games in the teens, I think, out of 9 or whatever. I'll click on it, but that's my gut guess on that there. Look at that, 3 games in the teens. Like the other ones are 25, 42, 37, 29, 34, 34, but he's got a 12, a 14, and a 15. So
best 2 plays under 4,500 on DK.
Bam Adebayo and Boban Marjanovic.
We are locked. Good luck, everybody. What do you got for me?
Jeremy Grant we didn't talk about. But Ish Smith would be on that list too for me. But Jeremy Grant we didn't talk about it at 4,400 and pace game out the yazoo, frequently getting his 30 minutes. So he's another solid value play. But there's a lot of good value plays on DK. Ish, Pat Bev, Jeremy Grant, Boban, Bam. These guys all project very, very nicely for cheap prices.
Hell, if there's any day that Frank Ntilikina is going to have a good game, it certainly can come against the Chicago Bulls.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of very, very good value. So and yeah, so which is why I'd have had trouble making lineups without Westbrook.
You got ownership for me?
Oh, I think I can do that. Let's see what we got here. Got logged out somehow. That damn remote session and trying to get those projections in.
I forgot to beg for likes here, but 1,274 peak people on here. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us.
Yeah, nice. Although a general paucity of questions. You would have thought you would have gotten more QQs with that many people. 4%-ish. 4.3%. 1/100% for dollar. We should continue the game theory discussion at some point. We should.
Makes for a decent show.
No, I actually several years ago working at another site, I said we should have a game theory show, and we had it. And I was on there with 2 other guys, and they wanted to talk about 100 things that were not game theory. So I quit after like 3 episodes. But there's a different site that had a game theory show that ran for hundreds of episodes. That was my idea, and I pushed for it. And then I had almost nothing to do with, which I guess is how that goes sometimes.
Bam Adebayo on FanDuel, 34% ownership.
I would have thought about 40, so a little bit less than I thought. On
right
DK,
with the field.
35.5.
Kelly Olynyk, 13.
Yeah, nice. On DK, 7. But FanDuel power forward was a bit of a shitstorm. Andy was dollar for dollar cheaper. I think it was 48 on FanDuel, 5K flat on DK.
I have a lot more Kelly Olynyk than the field.
You know what Daddy likes most looking at these projections first? James Harden at 6%. Look, I get the matchup isn't good. And he's not 100%.
I played 0 James Harden tonight.
Yeah, which is going to be the correct play 90% of the time. But the other 10% of the time are going to be some good nights, brother.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, Bam Adebayo on DraftKings, 35%. Daddy ambivalent. Like, it's not going to hurt you too bad. And if he goes off, you're kind of crushed. So I get being reluctant to have none. So, okay. Aaron Gordon, 31%. Daddy doesn't like it. That's too much. Like, I don't want Aaron Gordon at 31% on. That's too much for me.
But, well, I would probably be with the field there. 6,500 on DraftKings is just kind of a weird price for him.
It does, again, hard to hurt you too much, you would think. But
I totally understand that, Chuck.
Yeah, fair enough. 30% Oladipo.
Like, same thing. It's just a price thing. He's at a spot where there weren't guys around him that are as relevant. Yep. I mean, 8,200 is just kind of crazy.
Yep, no disagreement there. Justice Winslow, 19. Sure. Never seen someone go from hate to love as quick as his last game. Because he was shit for the first quarter, and people are like, I can't believe I played Justice Winslow. Like, literally, in a half-hour period, there's 58 people shitting on Justice Winslow. And then by the end of the day, I was like, hey, Justice Winslow, he's pretty good. Andre Drummond, 15. You're over that.
Yeah, I have a couple more shares of Drummond.
Fournier, 15.
Drummond is 9% in my tournament on FanDuel, and I played 45.
Well, there you go. That's 45. Well, that's the most profound statement of not liking Bam you can make.
I just see I have a hard time believing he doesn't beast here.
Yes.
Barring foul trouble.
Yes, it's just that there were cheap guys with big upside, but yes. Blake, 9%. This is a DK.
That seems like not enough, but he had a bad price, didn't he?
Yeah. How about this one? Stanley Johnson, 9%.
I had like 10% Stanley Johnson prior to the news, and just flat mass swapped him out to min salary Glenn Robinson just in case.
Okay, what'd you do with the extra money?
Nothing. Ate it. I didn't have time to recrunch, but FanDuel, it's just, I got it to 3,500. It's a waste of money for sure, but it's better than playing Stanley Johnson. That was definitely not going to work.
Yeah, Lennox 7% daddy like, Harden 6% daddy like, Josh Richardson 5% daddy like, Reggie Jackson 4.4% daddy like ish, who I like much more actually, 4.3% daddy really like.
Yeah.
Darren Collison not so much, Miles Turner 4% daddy like, Tyreek Evans 4% not so much, Vooch 4% daddy like, Sabonis 4%, Chetty Osman 4%, Roddy Magruder 4%, Chris Paul 3%. It's kind of a fun one. Mo Bamba 3%, Rodney Hood 2%, Mello 2%, Tucker 2%, Tristan 2%, Goran Dragic 1.6%, Bojan Bogdanovic 1.5%, Capella 1.3%. Daddy really likes 1.3%. Capella is pretty good. Larry Nance 1.3%, Thad 1.25%, Jordan Clarkson 1.24%, Jonathan Simmons 1.07%. Dwayne Wade, 0.94. Your boy, Sam Decker, 0.78. George Hill, 0.67. Wes Iwundu, 0.56. Glenn Robinson, 0.53. All right, that he likes. He's starting. He's a 0.5%. You've got me. Jerry and Grant, 0.52. James Ennis, 0.5. Bruce Brown Jr., 0.44. Colin Sexton, 0.44. Wow. It's almost like guys when the front office and the team say he's bad. It's does a thing. Gerald Green, 0.37. Gary Clark, 0.37. Kyle Korver, 0.28. J.R. Smith, 0.24. Corey Joseph, 0.16. Tyler Johnson, 0.16. Langston Galloway, 0.12. Zaza, 0.11. Someone's got to play themselves. I'm running out of air. Kyle O'Quinn, 0.07. Doug McDermott, 0.06. That's never right. He could be starting and playing 4 minutes, and 0.06 is too much ownership. Channing Frye, 0.05. Derek Jones Jr., 0.03. Wayne Ellington, 0.03. Hartenstein, 0.02. Michael Carter-Williams, 0.02. Ante Zizic, 0.01. Calderon, 0.01. Nawaba, 0.01. Marquise Chris, 0.01. Hassan Whiteside, 0.01. Congratulations. You played yourself. Literally one guy. You played yourself.
Whew.
I had to go deep there.
You did have to go deep there.
That's what she said.
All right, everybody. I think that's going to do it for Eddie. We will not see each other until Thursday. You'll have everyone will have the Eddie and Chris Baggs show coming up over the next 2 days.
2 times in a row. I skipped all my days off, so I'm going to start getting more and more weird and sleep deprived.
I'm happy to take a Tuesday or Wednesday if you'd like. I got nothing going on this week.
Now I'm teasing you. I'm fine.
It's a light week for me from my social calendar perspective.
That would interfere with my social agenda, if you see what I'm saying.
I've got a wedding Sunday. Other than that, I don't have much going on.
All right. Yeah, I've got this. I've got living vicariously through y'all.
Yeah, it's a good life.
I have no complaints.
Honestly, I live for the day where I win a penny every morning. It just changes my morning.
Yeah.
That's all I need. Just a penny. Any win works.
Yep.
All right, let's get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for joining us live before lock. One big word. It's the promo code. For anybody that's still on here and not a member at awesomemode.com, use that promo code. 7-day free trial. Pick Fantasy Cruncher if you're interested in using it as well. It's included in the package. You got nothing else, I assume, right?
No, I'm good. I'll handle questions in the premium if anyone has them or tweets as always. But no, I'm good, boys.
All righty. Have a good one, everybody. Have a good night. Good luck. We'll talk to you in the morning. Bye.